Okay, abusia yebemo bibia kwa bana abusia Godfred yeboa dame versus Richard Japa. Mene wo kasei former Deputy Attorney General of Godfred dame mistakenly papa no etimi expose Godfred yeboa dame big time. Mene wo kasei Godfred dame is likely to be prosecuted in jail because already no Godfred dame endrada CID boss etwonsa frɛ no etoto na no interrogate no over Richard Japa petitioner or de command CID boss a wɔtwe sɛ Godfred yeboa dame fabricate evidence concerning ambulance case and just say ato forcing involved na me no work say former Deputy Attorney General mistakenly were exposing Godfred dame yeboa gidigidi a abusuya me waste time no mom yenko nkoti ensem a Godfred dame ne deputy ne to dwa answer na be convention say dwumedi onya like here obe like subscribe to the channel na afin so share dwumedi no ma foforo sensa entumi enka bi meramase
service by one of the accused persons in that particular trial who was acquitted and discharged. Talking about now one of the officials of the National Security Secretariat and Richard Japa. Now, the former Attorney General, Godfred yeboa dame, has done nothing wrong. Well, those were the words of his deputy when he was Attorney General. I'm talking about Alfred yeboa. He says that with these charges that have been brought against him, that's Godfred yeboa dame, in the end, he will be vindicated. Let's take a listen to former Deputy Attorney General Alfred yeboa. We'll walk you through exactly why Godfred yeboa dame had to even be at the CID, the Ghana Police Service, earlier today. In fact, he went to the office of the CID with a team of 70 lawyers. Imagine that. But this is it. This is Deputy Attorney General Alfred yeboa. Take a look.
Invited to appear for the CID this morning. We got here around 10:05. We had to wait for over 1.5 hours. Interrogation just started. He's well composed. He's ready to face the interrogators. And at the end of the day, people of Ghana get to know that all these charges against her are trumped up once. I mean, the former AG in his office as the AG discharged his duties with all diligence. I was his deputy, and I can state without any equivocation that he has done nothing untoward to merit this kind of charge that has been brought against him. But at the end of the day, truth will stand. Truth will stand. Godfred will be vindicated.
Would you say this is just purely political, based on what we do to articulate?
Purely political, and I think it's also coming out of dislike for Godfred dame. The complainant in this particular case, he knows deep down his heart that this matter would have arisen if he had not gone to see one of his relatives, the Supreme Court judge, to speak to Godfred dame. And so he knows that dame is innocent, but he still wants to press it. We are ready for him. Godfred is ready for him. People of Ghana will get to know the true facts behind this trump-up charges. Reporters came around, and the police in their protocol decided to let some of them go out of the main premises. Maybe they have their own protocols, but I don't think they will breach any rule by coming here to support the former Attorney General. Let's remember, he was the leader of the bar. And someone in that high office, we expect that when there's any matter against him, people will just come and then support him. There are a lot of lawyers around here. There are other supporters outside the police headquarters. But I can assure you, we've never broken any rule, and that's why the place is so calm. Whether intimidation or not, we are here to state what we know about the matter. Godfred dame is not guilty. He's very innocent. At the end of the day, he will be vindicated. The supporters too are at the gate, and we are very sure that they are not being molested. But if there should be any such thing, we definitely protest.
Thank you very much.
So that's Alfred yeboa. He deputized Godfred yeboa dame when he was Attorney General and Minister of Justice of the Republic of Ghana. The process has just started at the Criminal Investigations Department of Ghana Police Service. So it's one that we'll see how the coming days will look like. There was a question that was asked of him when they were to return to the CID. He says that, well, they don't have any information as of exactly when they would have to return. And we'll hear from the CID boss shortly. But also, we spoke to another lawyer who is also the legal officer for the NPP, the opposition New Patriotic Party, Frank Davis, who also indicated, quite on the same lines of Alfred Chiaboa, that these charges are frivolous and it would end nowhere. These were his words. Let's take a look at this.
There was a delay because obviously, there's no queries on the prohibition to the page. So you were assisting the police for their investigation is, so to speak, the aftermath. It is 30 days yet, so I don't want to preempt anything about charges. We just came here to honor their intentions. I know what we are looking for what they will have to say subsequent. At least we have also told them what we know about the complaint. So we'll be waiting for them to do this.
Actually, I don't think about the petition. I think it's just a political thing or...
But what is your take?
I am a journalist.
Well, I'm also a lawyer. What is your take? A matter we just received judicial pronouncement. This is the first time we are hearing it.
What is like that?
6 complaints has been made already. That received a judicial pronouncement. So what?
What here?
Is it not obvious to you? Is it not obvious what the implications are? So, guys, I need no say. You should also from the local group.
What does the police tell you as the other day? How for this?
What did the police tell us?
What is it tell you? Are you coming back? The bus is to find out the right place.
Are we coming back?
Yeah. Right.
We don't know yet.
Well, so that's just an idea of how the reactions after Godfred Dame responded. In fact, he had to go to the office of the CID earlier today upon that particular invitation, and the details, as we've seen, the reactions after that engagement. And you just heard there Frank Davis, who's the head of the legal directorate of the New Patriotic Party. You saw Gary Nemacombe and the others there, and Dennis Baberi Esquire with me. And then you hear some of the lawyers who went there indicate that they went there with a crack team of...
Yeah, that was a crack team of lawyers. Because in there you'd find the respected Leonard Tr0ublě in the picture. Mm-hmm. I also saw former Deputy Attorney General. He actually spoke to the press.
Yeah.
You'd find his own counsel, Frank Davis. Also in there, in one of the visuals, I saw Eko, who was the...
Suman, yes.
Eko lawyer to the former president.
Yeah.
Yes, and a lot more of them. So, I mean, it's fair to say that it was a crack team of lawyers that accompanied the former Attorney General to that particular invitation by the CID. But just to put matters into a proper perspective, we have been following this issue quite closely ever since it broke, to the effect that Richard Japa, from that famous trial of the ambulance, is still pursuing some aspects of the case, which has to do with an audio recording that had him in conversation with the former Attorney General. Also part of that had to do with a meeting that was said to have been held in the residence of one of the Supreme Court justices, Justice Kolendi's residence. I mean, what is of a fact now is the fact that that meeting actually did happen, but the purpose of that meeting is what is in dispute. Mm-hmm. So the allegation made by Richard Japa is to the effect that, the meeting and that correspondence between him and the Attorney General was what he says an attempt by the Attorney General to procure a favorable response from him in order to convict the former the current finance minister, who was the former majority leader in the person of Dr. Kessel Atto. So that is basically the crux of the matter for which we are now before the CID for that to be investigated. In the view of Richard Japa, whatever happened amounts to what he says is fabrication of evidence, which is a crime he wants the CID to investigate. Mm-hmm. We'll soon get into the specific responses of the former Attorney General, who has disputed all of those claims, put the matters in what he believes are the proper context, and why the CID should not even investigate the matter in the first place. Because in his view, it is res judicata. Means the matter has already been decided. So,
But was this matter decided as part of the court proceedings in the ambulance trial? Because
yes, at a point when this tape came out in the public and it was
admitted as evidence.
Yes, it was admitted in evidence because when it came to light that there was this kind of conversation, then lawyers for the first accused person, who is in the person of Dr. Xp0sěs in that particular matter, applied for a mistrial to say that to the extent that the Attorney General had that kind of communication with one of the accused persons, and as the narration was, seeking to get a favorable response from him to convict him, it meant that it had tainted the whole trial, for which the trial should not progress. So they filed an application for a mistrial. That application was dismissed. And in dismissing same, the court made some pronouncements as to the weight of those WhatsApp correspondence, the audio recording, and indeed the meeting. So that is what he's now arguing, to say that to the extent that the court has made a pronouncement on that matter, it basically settles it.
I see.
For which reason the Criminal Investigations Department should not be looking at it. But the new information we got this evening was to the effect that after all of it all, the former Attorney General was admitted to a self-recognizance bail. So, I mean, that's what we heard from his lawyer.
Sure.
But like I was saying, he basically raises issues even with the allegation itself, trying to put the offense in itself and match it with the facts as they are. And saying that when you look at what constitutes an offense of fabrication of evidence and what is reported to have, or what purportedly happened between himself and Richard Japa, it does not have all the elements to ground a charge in respect of fabrication of evidence.
Right.
And to that extent, it falls short. He also raises matters of, like I mentioned, a matter that it has already been adjudicated and pronounced by the High Court, and to that extent, it should not, the CID should not be looking into that matter any further. In law, we say it is res judicata. Now, he also now goes on to give an account of the instances that he and Richard Japa met. And he says, in his own words, that without Justice Kolendi, there wouldn't have been a dummy and Japa. That is to say, the only nexus between the two of them was because he attended upon an invitation of His Lordship Justice Yoni Kolendi at his residence. And that when he was in the residence, then Richard Japa, who is a cousin to His Lordship, came to the residence. And that was the only instance that they met. That outside, beside the courtroom and the residence of Justice Yoni Kolendi, he has not met Japa anywhere. And that even when he was in Justice Yonendi's residence with Japa, he maintained an open mind and he did not do anything that seemed to suggest that he wanted to compromise the ongoing trial. So basically, that is the response of the former Attorney General in respect of these particular matters. He puts it 50-paragraph response to the CID. So we're now looking forward to what exactly the CID will do going forward. Like we heard from his counsel, that they really do not know what's going to happen next. But of course, since the response has been given to the CID, we expect that the CID will be those to now dictate the next line of action. We do know that's not the only petition before the CID. We also know of a petition or a complaint that has been made by one Ghanaian citizen by name Daniel Mafo.
The authority in terms of resource availability and constraint to cater for this. So, yes, there's a challenge between what the authority can do in terms of resource constraint.
I get that. Dr. Paul, I think that your constraints, you have spent quite some time talking about the constraints you have in dealing with it, which I do appreciate, to be honest. But then again, I think what we're watching is troubling, to say the least. You have railway lines hanging. Illegal miners have dug beneath the railway lines, and you are also asking for resources to develop that railway line because of the manganese that we are mining there as a country. Now you are faced with this problem. So what, in your view, should be the thinking of addressing this matter of these Galamsey operators going forward? Because the cat and mouse game, they will have informants who will tell them when you are coming. You've seen that. So if NIMOS comes in, is it a permanent post for the military and police on that 15-kilometer stretch? And we're talking about 15 kilometers. How many police or military personnel would have to be deployed on that entire 15-kilometer stretch that this thing is happening?
I think I have to explain to your viewers what the situation is on the ground. So we have what we call the narrow gauge. So the narrow gauge is the 68 kilometers where you are seeing on your television. And we have the standard gauge railway, which runs from Angu through Manso to Benso. The SGR, the standard gauge railway line, which we are developing, has not been tempered with in terms of the Galamsey activities. We have observed some certain activities, going close to the embankment from Manso to Amente. However, the embankment has not been touched in terms of these Galamsey activities, and we've also got a rock-filled material that is preventing the damage in terms of soil stability. Yes, it is right to point out that the narrow gauge is not. We are not going to use the narrow gauge, in the near term. We are replacing it with the standard gauge. But even that, we must also protect the asset in a way not to allow them or encourage them to tamper with the standard gauge railway, which we are spending the money on, as you alluded to. So the key thing here, Alfred, I'm alluding to is, whilst we can deploy maybe a tactical force on the line, we need to look at it in the context of NADMOS as a national security threat. Because what I'm referring to is that when you go to places like Hini Valley, the Galamsey activity is about 8 kilometers away, and they have dammed some of the farms and directed the the washing, everything to the formation of the new standard gauge railway line.
I see.
So whilst you may be thinking that the primary factor is to set up a railway task force or having a patrol up and down, that is not the point. We are also having a secondary impact, not the core impact as a primary source, as a secondary impact from maybe 8 or 10 kilometers away, or in some cases. I can make a reference to Xp0sěs. Xp0sěs, for example, the river runs about 12 kilometers from our railway line. But because they are doing the Galamsey in the Xp0sěs River, it is basically they are directing the flow towards our embankment. So in this case, what I'm just alluding here is that we need to consider this as a national security threat. Whilst the railway is a victim of it, we are not just the victim here. This affects more than just the railway infrastructure. And we must look at how best we can mitigate in the short term what we have to do as a nation. Otherwise, you are right. This is going to be, it's a bit bizarre in terms of what they are doing at the moment.
Well, I do thank you for sparing some time to talk to us. Dr. Fred Akuffo is the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Railway Development Authority. There, quite heartbreaking with the videos you were seeing. But this is Ghana Tonight. We're back shortly after this quick break, and I will tell you how Parliament's indefinite postponement of the reopening or resumption is going to impact on very key issues which Parliament was to consider next week. Stay with us. We're back shortly. Next week, Tuesday, because the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumana Kingsburg-Bagman, has postponed the upcoming meeting indefinitely for reasons beyond his control. That's how this was captured. The Speaker is saying his initial notice to the members of Parliament, as the notice to summon Parliament, dated 29th of September 2025, as was under his authority. He says by giving the notice that the commencement of the third meeting of the first session of the 9th Parliament of the Fourth Republic is deferred until further notice due to circumstances beyond his control as Speaker of Parliament. And this is a statement we received today, the 6th of October. So as was expected that Parliament was going to resume next week, Tuesday, the 14th of October. That is not going to happen. And there are a few concerns. And beyond this notice of postponement, we sought to find out how this was going to impact on the business of the next session of Parliament. One, major, because last week, Tuesday, you had the Attorney General Minister of Justice, Dr. Dominic Akuritinga-Ayeni, did indicate that this laying of the LI that will revoke the law until Parliament resumes from this indefinite postponement. So we're not going to see LI 2462 off our books anytime soon. if this notice is anything to go by. Also, the swearing in of the 2 new members of parliament, that's the Tamale Central MP-elect, Professor Alidu Seidu, and also Bernard Bediakubedu Akwetia MP. They would also have to wait a little while, unless we receive another notice again, now reinforcing the date of the 14th, because, yes, as we did indicate, this statement earlier from the Speaker says issues beyond the Speaker's control. Well, the vetting of the Chief Justice nominee, His Lordship Paul Bafuboni as well, would be impacted by this indefinite postponement as required in Article 1441 of the 1992 Constitution as well. And that's not the only one. We're looking at the 2026 budget presentation as well and post-budget debates, as Article 179 of the 1992 Constitution demands that the President must present a budget at least 1 clear month before the end of the financial year. And it's always done on behalf of the President by the Finance Minister. That is also going to be impacted as well for as long as this postponement is in force. Okay? And then there's the laying of the new Public Tribunals Bill, if approved by Parliament. And that, the Attorney General did indicate that by tomorrow he will submit it to Cabinet and the decision will be taken. Professor David Abdullahi is a senior governance advisor at the Africa Parliamentary Network. He's joining us on Zoom right now. Prof, appreciate your time. I mean, one of your vexing parliamentary matters and the workings of Parliament, reading this notice.
Okay, abusia entichese wenen sema koso our political hiring such as Godfred Yeboa Dame ene chese Richard Japa en sensem yede ho update eba ababedomo en some hofro bia boba concerning this issue yede beba ababedomo me demo besia na madam asesamo je penimi kuti nsemo a ekoso our political hiring so ha POG Media madam ase